Well, hello and welcome back. I appreciate everyone following along here with Leaders Fuel Daily podcast. This is episode number 6, and I'm here with my friend Judy Benedict. Judy and I have been in a business networking group together and also participated in the Resilient Entrepreneur course a couple of different times. And Judy's been a good friend and is the owner of Giraffe Web Development and Design. And so, Judy, how long have you been doing an entrepreneur? How long have you been doing your business?
I have this is my 21st year. I started working for myself sometime in 98, and then I actually formally formed my company at the end of 99. So it's been a
Good,
long time.
a good long haul. So you're not a newbie to this, and you have pretty much been a solopreneur for a very good portion, or if not all, of that stretch. Is that correct?
Oh yes, the entire time.
The entire time. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are probably going to be watching this or listening to it that are on that solopreneur journey, and you're a veteran at this. What I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've gone through all kind of different phases and stages, and there's been a lot of water under the bridge. But what is talk? Can you talk about the whole idea of motivation, especially 'cause talk to the solopreneur out there, and what do you have to share that is helpful in that, and what's been your experience with it?
I will tell you that the biggest part of motivation and keeping motivated is actually something you teach is writing down your goals,
Hmm.
and not just financial goals, but your daily and weekly goals. And on the every day, I sit down and make a task list.
Hmm.
And on that task list, I do what I call triage, and I look to see what is the most important task I need to get done. It might be a 3 or 4 hour task. It might be a several day task, but at least I can get started on it. So that kind of gets me going. Sometimes if I don't have that, I'm sitting here futzing around with email and I'm not getting anything done. So that's a big part of just keeping motivated. The other thing is one of the phases, and I go through this periodically, and it's where I've just kind of feel, it's almost like I feel like I have spring training, but it might be January.
Hmm.
And this, I mean, spring,
Fever.
not spring fever, excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I don't know where spring training came from. And when that has happened, because it's happened numerous times. So when I get what I call the spring fever, which could be any time of year, that's when I start to look to see, okay, what can I do to increase my skill level? Because that is the kind of thing that kind of gets you excited.
Hmm.
You kind of get in this groove, you get unmotivated,
Hmm.
you get where you feel like what you're doing might be boring. And a woman that I know said one day that, which I thought was interesting. She said, when you get to that point, sometimes it's where you've kind of already hit your genius.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you've hit your genius because you're working in your genius because it's got to be so easy
Hmm.
that you're not motivated to continue. So you've got to do something to move on. Don't give it up. You just need to do something to move on. So I'll look to see literally, okay, what training is out there for me that can help? One of them was yours, your emotional intelligence training. I mean, I
Hmm.
was at that point, I said, oh, and you came out with that right time for me.
Hmm.
Awesome, perfect. Is extremely motivating, and it kept me going for a while. I
Hmm.
actually, to be honest with you, since I took that training, I really haven't had my spring fever pop up.
Hmm.
So that's kind of one of the things. And plus, a lot of solopreneurs will work and work and work and work 24/7.
Yeah.
And um, you know, you'll invest in buying a car, invest in buying all kinds of stuff, but a lot of solopreneurs don't invest in themselves.
Hmm.
And one of the things you need to do is you just really need to invest in yourself, and you need to say, okay, I'm going to take some training on this, or look for something. A lot of times when you're asking in your brain, somehow that stuff sort of falls in your lap like your program did.
Yeah.
But to me, also, you've got to take a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes, honestly, sometimes the best break is just to take one in the middle of the week. Just don't
Mm-hmm.
work middle of the week. Just take a break. Do something that you've been wanting to do, or take care of stuff around the house, which for solopreneurs, I mean, a lot of that stuff gets put aside. And I've started to like take some of the mornings and I'll just get some stuff done at home, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, oh my gosh, how long has it been since I took care? How long has that been sitting there on that table? And
Yes.
it's like stuff, just, you just don't see stuff. And so you just got to stop and open your eyes and kind of see what's around.
Yeah, you get that sort of like blinders of doing your business, and you miss some of those things that you need to be
Yeah.
managing personally. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't want to be in that fight or flight mode all the time either. So having that whole task list down kind of helps calm you and
Yeah.
just say, okay, and you can see the overall picture. And the other thing is that I've done, and actually, I guess this has been off and on for the past 21 years. I also look at vertical industries to what I'm doing, or vertical jobs. So
Okay.
let's say, I do web development, and, I might, but that's really the thing I'm really the best at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really that great at graphic design. I can open up Photoshop and do stuff, but I'm not that great at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not that great at writing content. Um,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
very good at editing content.
Mm-hmm.
And look, but so what I did is I started looking for people would partner with me. We don't work for each other, but partner with me that could do those kinds of tasks for me, so that I had at least that part of it off of my plate. It's different from just hiring a VA. These are people that are actually, I call partners in my business. And so now what's happened is they will get a client, and I will actually do the work that they can't do for that client. So it goes both ways. So
Yeah.
you
There's.
can go out and find a partner that can help you, and you continually pass business back and forth, and you're supporting their business and you're helping their business grow. And so that's kind of a lot of what's happened,
Mm-hmm.
and that's very important. And if you don't know where to find those people, there are, I mean, even now, online networking groups and stuff where you can get
Go
on
get them.
and you can meet people,
Yes.
and make those kind of connections.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've seen it happen over and over and over again. Um,
So I'll tell you, you've said a ton of things, so much valuable information in what you've shared. I want to break down a couple of things. So the first thing, you talked about this idea of that if you start your day by really aligning yourself with where you want to go, it makes everything better. And I think of that kind of like a jig. If a person's working in a wood shop and they've got a repetitive task that they have to get done, they make a jig so that you don't have to redo that every single time.
mhm.
And the idea is that every single day, the repetitive thing that you need is productivity. And and if you don't have a jig, you can do a lot of activity, but it's like entropy. All of the energy kind of leaks out into the universe, right? It goes every which way. The jig says, this is where we're focusing our time, energy, and attention. And by just taking that small amount of time, you're leveraging your whole day, meaning that small bit of time gets a lot more return on that. It's a leveraged activity, what you're doing there. And so let me ask, how long have you been doing that? As you've been doing a solopreneur thing a long time. How long have you been using that jig for your day?
Honestly, I have been doing that since I started.
Mm-hmm.
And that obviously what I've written has changed, because when I started out, I really didn't know how to do what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so the thing to start was I decided I was going to take all these classes And the only way to take classes at the time was this one online source. And it was a consortium of, honestly, people from around the world who had actually built, like, written the browsers like Netscape browser and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this, and I actually set out an entire 15 course. I mean, you could take whatever you want, but I
Yes.
looked to see what I wanted to learn and what I needed to do to actually be able to be successful in what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of like charted that path with all of those courses on my
Yes.
own. And I earned a certificate because I had so many courses, but I also had a path for that, for what I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
So, that also, that morphed into, in between, I was actually getting clients, and, having to learn. I mean, the learning curve was a lot, because at the time you had to learn by trial and error, a lot of
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
So I had to start then, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. So I did start. I mean, it's kind of like morphed into different ways of me doing it.
Yes.
But I will tell you that I have tried my Outlook tasks, putting the tasks in Outlook and marking them off. And I'm going to tell you, the only thing that really continually works for me is
Mm-hmm.
just writing it all down on a
Write it
piece of
down.
paper.
Yeah.
And there's something about that handwriting mind connect for me that keeps it in my mind when I don't even have it with me sometimes. And so, like, the night before, I will, a lot of times I'll say, oh gosh, I need to do blah, blah, blah. And what I do is because for some reason I can't remember the words, but
Mm-hmm.
I can remember the alphabet. So I'll just say, okay, I need to do this, and this, and each one starts with a different letter. So I need to do B, R, and T.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I get up in the morning, I write down B, R, and T and what they are, and I add it to my list. And then I'll go in and I'll prioritize the list.
You make your
But
kind of like acronym at the
yeah,
yeah. So
I don't know
do it.
why I can't remember the words, but I sure can remember the alphabet. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of an interesting kind of thing for me.
That's a nice little trick. I like that. Yeah. And that thing you said about writing, I know there's been studies done on how valuable retention of information is for writing. People that are advocates of journals are very big advocates of doing a handwritten journal versus typing, because there's all kind of online journaling that you can do. So it's interesting that's certainly proven to be true in your case, right?
Yeah, and also I have a notebook I keep, and
Mm-hmm.
when I talk to somebody on the phone, I write down the date, time, who's on the phone, and then I write out basically what our conversation is. And it may be a client, it might be, most of the time it's client related now, but just depending on what it is. And then if I ever need to go back and refer to that, I can flip back. And sometimes in my mind, I even know what part of the page and how far down the notebook that was. I
Yeah.
think it's because I actually wrote it down, even though I was talking and writing. So I can go back and refer to that. And so I've got notebooks full of conversations that I can go back and look at. And what's really funny is that I have clients that they haven't even been my clients for like 10 years, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
contact me and they'll
Mm-hmm.
ask me a question about something. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
and I actually kind of still have that, because I have other clients who are still my clients in there. So I still have the notebook, so I can go back and refer to it.
Yeah. Well, I can certainly relate to that as a business coach. And one of the things that in a coaching session I'm always doing is taking notes. And every one of my clients has their own, and it's just nothing fancy. It's a simple composition book. Some of them have more than one book because we've been doing coaching for a while. But I am part of me helping a client is that note-taking process, because it connects me in a different way to the conversation. It
Mhm.
allows me to go back at the end of that to remember sort of not just what was said, but what was the intention behind what was said.
Mhm.
Where is this person really going with this? And then I'm able to then type back notes to them that really capture all of that. And then, the value of that is it's like almost like the person has that person gets to just kind of free think and get in a sort of what I would call sage brain activity. And they don't have to do the writing process. They just do the thinking process. and then I'm recording it and capturing it for them, and then I give it back to them, and so then they can go back and get it. But I can see where if you've had these conversations with people, when you go back and look at your notes, that it might take you back to the conversation that you had with them and remember certain things about it. Is that what you've experienced?
Yeah, yeah, it does. And it's funny because I'll go back and look, and sometimes I don't have everything written down.
Yeah.
And I'll think, and I'll go back and I'll look, and even some of the stuff I have written down will actually trigger something else I forgot to write down,
Mm,
and then I'll write
that's
it down. And
very
sometimes
interesting.
it'll be months and months later.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of, and I will tell you that the one thing, is I do know some people that they'll just record it, like they'll get on their phone, they'll record the conversation on their phone. I mean, they tell it beforehand.
You're right.
And then they go back and they'll listen to it, which is fine. But I think maybe I'm just too impatient to have to go back and listen through the whole thing again. I just like to have, you know what? And I love captions on videos. Okay. Because I don't even have to listen to the person talking, but I can just read what it is.
Yeah.
For some reason, for me, the reading of it and being able to, just be able to scan down the page and get straight to what I want without having to scroll through a
Yeah.
video or a recording. But it's good to have those as a backup.
For sure.
But I guess, that's one of my things is like, what's going to save me the most time? And the most time is to have it written where I can just scan down and look at it without having to sit
For
there
sure.
with things. So that is helpful too.
Yeah, that's a great, and you're clearly a visual learner. Something about the way you learn is visual, maybe some kinesthetic stuff in there. But I think partly what you're maybe is that of the different learning styles, auditory is probably the lower of whatever those are, but the visual bit, and then and I think another little hack I use is I 2xing videos, because you can get through content. I do that a lot, and of course I love audiobooks because I can consume a lot of content that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so okay, I want to go back. There's a bit that you said there. You were talking about this spring fever, and you kind of get in this sort of stagnation, I suppose.
Mhm.
And because we're really talking about how does the solopreneur stay motivated. The difference is some solopreneurs are around other people often and interacting, and sometimes there's some structures that are there for them, and depending on what kind of solopreneur journey they're on. But when you're doing the kind of work that you're doing, you have to create all of the structure that helps you and helps your clients. And so here's the question, and all of that commentary is that what are the things that tell you I'm in spring fever mode? I'm kind of in that stagnation. What do you notice about yourself when you're in that place?
The biggest is I just have this overwhelming feeling of not really wanting to do anything. And then it doesn't even matter what comes in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel motivated to even do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just remember when we were kids and that we would, go run into my mom and say, oh my gosh, I am so bored.
Mm.
And she said, well, you need to find something to do. And I'd be like, there's nothing to do. And she'd make all these suggestions. And we're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So nothing she said worked.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, I don't know what we did. We go outside and finally
There it is. Yeah.
something would catch our interest, or we get on the swings or something. And then you kind of sort of got through that little phase. And it was not something that went on for days and days and days. It was just something that, I don't even know these days. I don't even know if our kids get to be bored. There's not enough. I mean, I'm imagining there's to a point where now there's so much that maybe you can just get bored with so much.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last long. So I have a few little things. One is I just have to make sure, because I do all my work on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to make sure that sometimes I just turn it on. I have to make sure that usually if I just make my task list and I see something on there, and it might not be the thing that's the most important thing that has to get done right then. It might be the thing I think, oh, this will be fun to go learn this little thing. I need to do this for this client. And then I'll go do it. And honestly, it's like the feeling passes.
Yeah.
because I get
Yeah.
so into it, and there's
Hmm.
just not, I don't know if it's psychologically, I don't know what it is, but it just kind of passes. And then once I get that train moving, it
Hmm.
just keeps on going. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, boy, I sure did have a very productive day
Nice.
where I wasn't sure that it was going to be productive when I started out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think so. And the creativity is really the kind of the fuel of an entrepreneur, isn't it? It's that there's that energy that goes with being in a creative space versus, first of all, being just entertained. I hold the idea that you can't simultaneously be fully entertained and be fully creative. That's just not possible. Um, but tapping into your creativity. There's an interesting thing. When I was studying neurolinguistic programming, one of the things that they teach you is all about they call it the prerequisites of the subconscious mind. And there was an interesting thing in there that almost like these opposing forces of your subconscious mind. In one way, our subconscious mind is processing billions of bits of data all the time. It's doing all the internal processes of our body, and then it's noticing colors, sounds, the wind's blowing, a car's going by, oh, that light's flickering a little bit, all this thing instantly. It's very busy. Therefore, it tries to make all these shortcuts, and it finds patterns of recognition, and it's just trying to find the fastest way to speed up the process all the time. And that bit right there can actually kind of get us, it can kind of make us lazy, because if we admit it, we're when we really get honest with ourselves, we can be incredibly lazy people. And it's
mhm.
because, the subconscious mind is working and it's just looking for the easy way. But then there's this whole other aspect of the subconscious mind, and that is that it's always striving. It wants to like expand. And I think it's almost like the soulish part of our mind is that we're always seeking to be, do, and have more, and to impact more, and that and creativity is really the language of that part of the mind. To me, it's almost like the grease of that, when we get in a creative space. And so you're talking about, you get those uh, spring fever, but it's something, not the novelty of it, and also that it's learning. And that, I think, that's the sort of the point of this other part is, like, we can be in this fixed place, and sometimes it's good because we just need to get things done quickly, but then we really need this growth place. We need this place where we're constantly expanding of whatever it is we're into, and these, just stopping and taking a course and doing those things. And by the way, your idea, I think I'm really glad you said what you said about kind of how you manage your day. And that is, uh, we're kind of programmed with this sort of 9 to 5 idea. And especially if we've never really done kind of an independent thing or always worked for somebody else. Again, the structures, a business kind of needs you to be there during the typical working hours, but when you're doing an entrepreneurial thing, the one of the beauties of it is, um, that you have so much flexibility in what you do, or you can have it. And there's obviously instead of a balance in there, I like to say that there's a harmony in there, because look, we can't just be fully unproductive and then not take care of our clients, and watch everything go down the tube. But I think the idea is that there's this sort of conditioned hesitation. It's Tuesday afternoon and I'm cleaning my house instead of, on the keyboard. And that you can instantly kind of go into that sort of, you said, like, fight, flight, or freeze or mode or whatever, where you kind of get all stressed about that, then realizing that part of your motivation is going, no, this is great, and I'm so glad I'm taking the time to take care of myself and take care of my house, or whatever it is, that you realize that actually is a major benefit, and it has its own way of benefiting your clients and benefiting your business. And just, I think having a very good relationship with that kind of way of being able to manage our time is a good thing. So, any thoughts on that? What I've just said?
You know what? I had a thought and then it went away.
Did it come back? Should have written it
But
down.
I had a good thought too. But yeah, the thing that, it had to do with like the spring fever thing. And I will tell you,
Mhm,
sometimes, um, when I feel that way, I will not work and I
mhm,
will go do like, honestly, some stuff that needs to get done around the house.
mhm.
Um, and really when that happens, even though I don't even want to do that either, honestly, when I'm done with it, I think it's almost that sense of accomplishment that you get, that you actually got something done,
Yes.
that
Yeah,
might just turn something on in your brain that says, okay, it's
very
time, let's
much so.
get on with it.
Yeah.
And I also have a whole nother, like I can't work in chaos. So if things are not like
Mhm.
picked up and cleaned up around enough for me to be able to
So
sit down
mhm.
and get it done, because I can't concentrate if there's like junk around me.
Yeah.
What I call junk, piles of stuff, whatever. So,
Yeah, for sure.
um, you
Clutter.
know, not long ago, and this is I had hundreds, I'm not kidding, hundreds of client folders, and even though they were sitting in my cabinet, I don't even know why. Like a couple months ago, I opened them up and I'm like, I don't need any of this. I don't really need any of this. Keep any of this paper stuff.
Yeah.
So literally, I got the recycling bin at the office and I went and I dumped all of it. I looked through some of it, but I
For
dumped
sure.
most of it away, because I have most everything I need digitally now.
Mhm, mhm.
So, and boy, that sense of just like cleaning that thing out. And I was sitting in my office going, oh my gosh, I just don't think I can do anything. And I thought, oh yeah, I can go through that cabinet. And then I went through that cabinet and I thought, okay, now it just felt good to, um, get something cleaned out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. You
So,
unclutter your life a little bit, don't
yeah.
you? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's also very helpful, I think, for a solopreneur to
Yeah.
have, you need to have a place.
Mhm.
You need to have a place where is your place where you do your work.
Yeah.
Um, you know, if I know a lot of people like their place would be at the coffee shop, and that's fine.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be able to do that
That
all the
wouldn't
time.
be for you. Yeah. Yeah.
So people just, now during this pandemic time, there's so many people that have been working at home.
Mhm.
I think that a lot of that, they're like, oh, you know what? They've been trying to make places for themselves to work on their
For sure.
businesses.
Mhm.
And it's good that that's being done.
And it's
And I will,
designated that this is
yes,
there's some degree of separation there. The meaning that it sounds like what you're saying is you make a place so that when you're in that place, there's productivity that's happening there.
right.
And
Yeah.
it's not this sort of run on, drawn out, that sort of law of diminishing returns, when you're in that, like, I'm never off, I'm always on, and therefore everything is sort of diminished in the return I'm getting, instead of
Yeah.
I'm on, I'm at this desk, and when I'm here, I'm on, and when I step away, I'm off of that and on to
Mhm.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I like that. That's great advice. So what else, any other thoughts that you think has been helpful to you in terms of just motivation? Anything else you want to share?
Um, I think it's interesting, um, that you're the one that's doing this, because I really believe that every, every single solopreneur needs some type of mentor
Mm,
or a coach, or not maybe not continuously, but I
mm-hmm.
think that, that you get into this, and I call it a rut, but it might not be a rut. You just get in this point where you're doing everything yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff is falling. You're not it's impossible to keep up with everything on your own.
Yeah.
So I do have like different things. Like I have a really, really good accountant. And so if anything that comes along with that, I just ask her. So I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
my financial
Yeah.
mentor,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And then you also need to have somebody who helps you sometimes just refocus and look and see what's your why. What
Yeah.
is your why in your
Yeah.
business?
Yeah.
Um, and helps you just, figure out if you just the whole way you're running your business. Sometimes you just need to have somebody come down and sit. You've got to open it up and just
Mm-hmm.
let somebody see that.
Absolutely.
And I think that, a lot of times, a couple years ago, I had someone that was he was a sales executive coach, but he came in and he sat down and he looked at a few things that I had and he helped me come up with my specific problem. So it's not like having a coach should be, oh gosh, you're going to look at your whole business. There may be something that one little thing that you just need to have that help with.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard. I think it's very, very hard for most solopreneurs to ask for help
Yeah. Yeah.
on anything
That's a
because
good
you just
point.
feel like you're vulnerable all of a sudden. So
Yeah.
I think that's very important to do and to do it
Good.
periodically, if you're not doing it on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, I'm an advocate for coaching, and it's
Mhm.
one of the greatest ways to accelerate your growth, and it's so specific to what is going on with you in your business right now. So it's wonderful. But I also like the idea though that as a solopreneur, especially, and even if you're not one, you don't necessarily want someone to just be your North Star. You need a constellation of help around you.
Mhm.
And so there may be someone like a mentor or coach or someone with whom you have a longer term or more static relationship, but you need the constellation around because um, a good coach, by the way, isn't coming and trying to be the expert in what you do. But even then, there are certain things where, like you said, that other voice outside of that is something that I go, that's exactly the spark I needed. That is just thing. And frankly, there's so much strength in community and the sort of shared experiences. And it's not like I feel that we don't need to feel this pressure that I must carbon copy myself to anything that anyone's doing specifically. There are some things that I can model and other things that I think there's some things I can learn from that, but I don't have to exactly repeat that. But
Mhm.
but the opportunity to be open with your life and with your business, to have that willingness to accept help because it is all around. I think you're right. There's so many helpers out there. So yeah, good point. Well, hey, this is good stuff. So great. I'm just excited for people to hear this. Again, I get in these conversations and sometimes it's like we should have recorded that because I just know that there's some universal nature to the way that, entrepreneurialism works. And we're talking about solopreneurs, for example, but I promise you there are people who are not solopreneurs who may hear some of this or see it and go, yeah, that applies to me. They're probably shaking their heads. And so I'm glad we recorded this. And now what I want to know is, all right, so I see your sign in the background, your wonderful giraffe sign. So this is a chance I want you to share what you do and how you help, whatever you want to share about your business. Would you please do that?
Well, um, I help small and medium-sized businesses and nonprofits with their online presence by creating impactful websites and organic search engine optimization, which I can't ever say for some reason. Let's say SEO. That might be why it's just SEO. I have been doing this for 21 years.
Hmm.
I have clients that have been with me that long. I have done at least literally 70 or 80 nonprofit websites I've worked on over the years.
Hmm.
So if a nonprofit needs help with their website, and I also have ways to help nonprofits on their web hosting, and I'm very good with a lot of what needs to be on there, how to set up, their giving. I also can help set up with any of their help. I like to help set up their social media and get it set up correctly. I'm not necessarily a person that would do their social media, but anything that would touch that website, I try to make sure that it's set up so everything is like um, flows together.
Yes.
So, I don't know if anybody is a startup.
Hmm.
I'm very good with startups and small businesses
Hmm.
and mom and pops. I'm very
Hmm.
good working with mom and pops. So not everybody has a website, and I feel like even though that's what I do,
Mhm.
my business is to help grow their business.
Nice.
So that's really what I'm in the business for, is helping businesses grow and thrive.
Nice.
So
Well, what we're going to do is make sure that wherever this goes out, it has ways for people to get a hold of you, of course, to your website and your email, and in any other way, forms of social media, so that people can have no hesitation in connecting with you. I just want to say again, thank you for being a part of this. I've enjoyed.
thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll look forward to just watching this go out and seeing what I hope when people watch these is that they'll interact with it and comment on it. And
Mhm.
because, you and I have had this conversation in a space and time, but someone else watching it may have a thought that didn't even occur to us in this moment right
Oh,
now.
I'm
So,
sure.
so if anyone's there, I encourage that, and look forward to
I'd
seeing this
love to
out
see
there.
you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much.